We'll be looking at data handling with Pandas. So introduction to Pandas. Pandas is a library that simplifies data manipulation and analysis. So for example, if we want to import Panda, we'll put import Pandas, just like we did with NumPy. And it can have an alias PD, so we don't have to write pandas dot anytime we want to call something. We can simply use PD, a shorter, faster version. So what we'll be doing is trying to read data. So if we want to load data, we'll use this Titanic data set here. Let me open it for you. So if you can see this, it's just data about the Titanic. So the survived, the class, the name, sex, age, siblings, parents, fair. So here, if you anytime you want to read like a CSV file, we have pd.read_CSV. And remember, this URL is a variable. URL equals to this link here. So you just remember, you just need to pass the variable name, and it will read the value of this variable URL. And it's going to store, after it reads that, it will store it in a variable called data. So let's try that. So we have import pandas as PD. And remember, we want to store our URL in a variable. So this is the variable here. So now, if we want to read this file, we have a variable called a function called read_CSV. So we can put this in df equals to our data equals to PD. Remember, we're using PD because we use PD as the alias of pandas. So pd.read_CSV URL, this way, like this. So let's try printing df. So just to go through it again, import pandas as PD. So this helps us with data manipulation. So we can have the URL here, and I showed you the Excel file, and you can store it in a variable called URL. So anytime you want this link, all you need to do is type in URL. Then pd.read_CSV URL here, and it's going to get that link. So remember from the last programming video, this was what we went through. So we use the pandas to read CSV. And let's store it in df, print df, let's run it. So this is what we have, the values in the data sets. Okay. So the next thing now, let's look at basic data operations. So if you want to see what your data looks like let's say you can see the first 5 rows with data.head. We called as df, so remember we'll be using df instead of data in the code. So we have print df.head, this way. So can you see the first 5 rows? So this is to, the width of this window is not big enough, so it's going to the next line. So after you have passenger and the other 2 headings, it comes and goes to name, and then we also have the other one, patch, tickets, and back. Okay. So we can also get a summary of the statistics pertaining to the data frame with data.describe, but remember we named as df, so it's going to be df.describe. So print df.describe. So run it. So can you see this now? So you can get the count, mean, standard deviation, and so on. So just to describe what you have in your data set. So for the counts, you can see the passenger ID column has 891 rows, 891 values. Same thing for the other features apart from age. So age has some missing values. So you're also going to see how we can adjust that. So the next thing we'll check if count the missing values per column, and this sum just to make sum all of them up. So check for all the things in the data frame that are null, and then sum them up. So count them. So to do that, you have print. Remember we called as df, not data in the code. So is null, df dot is null. So it's going to give you what is null, and then you can sum all of those. So let's run this way. So age has 177 null values, cabin has 687 null values, and back has 2 null values. However, these ones have 0, 0, 0, so which is good. Okay. So let's print out what df is null represents. So this is how it shows. So it's going to go through each column and either put true or false for that. So for the first column, passenger ID was not null, so return false. Even age 2 was not null. That's for the first row, sorry. And then cabin was not null. So is null prints true or false, or outputs true or false for each row or each column and row. So for example, it's going to put false in places that are not null and true in places that are null. So print out df is null this way. So can you see have false here, false, false, false. For the first row, false means it is not null. So if it's null, it will say true. So for example, our cabin, the first row for cabin is null, so there's no value there, so that's why it's true. So null is checking whether or not there are values. We can also visualize. So visualizing data can provide insights that are not obvious from raw numbers alone, and you can use Seaborn. It works with matplotlib, which is used to plot. Matplotlib is used to plot. Seaborn can help create a bar plot. So let's see this. So the title of it is going to be survival rates by passenger class. This .show is just to show it. The X part of it is going to be P class, and then the Y will be survived. And our data is going to be equal to df because we named as df. So like this for df here. So let's run this so you can see the visualization. So yeah, so we have survival rates by passenger class as the title, so that will appear at the top here. We have X as P class, that is here, the X axis this way, and then the Y axis as survived. And you can see the bar plots plotting this against this. So depending on their class, how did they survive? So those in the passenger class, the first passenger class, first class survived the most. You learn how to create your own data frame, how you can input values to where you have missing values. So for example, the age, we'll see how we can use median. We'll see how we can also drop some certain columns, delete, check for each location, replace, and so on. So see you in the next tutorial.